Hey book club readers, today I'm going to be reading you chapter 13 of The Janitor's Boy. So chapter 13, Altitude. Elementary school can be spooky. In a building that's almost 75 years old, it's a feeling that's hard to shake. Jack walked up the east stairwell, every sense on alert. At the second floor landing, he stopped. He could hear eerie shaking his dust mob just around the corner. Jack waited, holding his breath. When the heavy footsteps headed away, he rounded the corner and kept climbing. The thick slates on the stairs were worn smooth from countless of thousands of treading feet, but Jack's toes barely touched down as he climbed up and up. The full floor was at the end of the line. It was also where his dad had been fixing a toilet, and maybe still was. Jack had only been up on the fourth floor, only once or twice, and not at all this year. All of the fifth grade classrooms were on the second floor, except for gym and music. The tower rose from the middle of the building, so Jack went to his right. He edged his way down the corridor. He passed the hallway that ran south toward the back of the school. He reached the exact corner of the building, just where he thought he would have to be a door, but there was nothing. Frustrated, Jack stopped to think. Then it dawned on him. The doors of the tower could be along either of the two hallways that ran from the back of the building to the front. The question was, if his dad was still working there, which of the two north-south halls was he in? A loud clang from his right answered that question. Jack headed back the way he had come. When he got to the hallway he passed a minute before, he turned right. There were classrooms and lockers on the left side of the hall. Jack was focused on the right. Lockers, 3 classrooms, a girl's bathroom, and then a door. There was no number on the door, no lettering. Digging in his front pocket, Jack put out a key. Number 73, wrong one. Digging again, he put out key 501 and slid it into the lock. Holding his breath, he applied pressure and the key turned. He was in. The hinges cracked and Jack stopped. He tried inching the door open, but that made the creaking worse. Hoping that the distance would hide the sound from his dad, he gave the door a bold shove, got himself in, and he pulled it out of the lock and shut the door behind him, holding the knob so the latch wouldn't click. Darkness. It smelled musty, closed in. He roamed around the hall and found a light switch. He flipped it on, and instead of a bright fluorescent light, there was a satellite glow of a spare bulb. He was in a narrow passage, made narrower by things piled up on the right sand wall. Stacks of old books, a heap of broken chairs, a discolored state flag on an iron floor stand. There was a pile of torn roller maps and 5 or 6 dusty globes. Bookcases with jumbled bookshelves, books were jumbled up 3 stacks high. It was an educational graveyard. Jack picked his way, careful not to let his backpack bump anything. Just past the bookcases, there was another door. Its doorknob had no place for a key. With his heart racing, Jack turned the knob and pushed. Pale daylight filtered down from above, and 10 feet in front of him lay the first flight of tower stairs. Walking in and peering up, he saw that there was 5 or more flights, maybe 6. At the first landing, there was a narrow window, but the glass was so grimy Jack could hardly see through it. The window at the second landing was even worse. At the third landing, Jack sucked in a quick breath. This window was in front of the tower and the side facing north towards the front lawn. The window was much clearer, with a partial view of Huntington laid spread out before him. Someone had halted one of the wooden chairs up from the landing. Its broken rungs had been artfully sliced and then held into place with a few twisted wires. Jack dragged the chair over to the window and stood on the seat to get a clearer view of the top planes. Cranking his neck to look northwest, he could see Randall Street across the railroad tracks. He counted 6 blocks north of the tracks, and that was his street, Greenwood. The leaf-lipped trees didn't hide much, but counting off the bricks from the corner, he thought he could see the roof of his own home. The bright October air was frosty and clear, and the flat land of the upper Midwest stretched on, dotted here and there with ponds and lakes. Northward on the distant horizon, he thought he could see Minneapolis, just as it hit the skyline. Jack kept going. The 4th and 5th landings each had windows, but Jack wanted to get to the top. He wanted to reach the summit. At the 6th landing, Jack had to crouch. The concrete ceiling above it was only about 4 feet tall. and there was a metal hitch. Jack shrugged off his backpack and settled on the floor. Then Jack reached up to grab the handle on the hitch, put his shoulder against the steel, and straightened up. 40 or 50 pigeons took flight with such a sudden noise that Jack dropped back into the opening, terrified. Then, realizing that he had made that sound, he quickly stood up again, his head and shoulders above the level of the bell platform. The fresh air was chilly, and the brightness made his eyes smart. He reached down for his backpack and swung it up, then himself onto the platform. It was a square about 12 feet wide. Each side had both two arches, that with the round limestone pillar that went between the floor and them. Chicken wire had been fastened around all the openings to keep the pigeons out, and for the most part, it had worked. In the middle of the space, a pair of I-beams, and 6 feet tall, were set onto the concrete floor, and the third one bolted between them. Three bronze bells hung between the crossbeams. Each bell had a clapper in the center, along with some kind of black metal bell that almost touched the outer brim. Probably some kind of electric ringer. The largest bell was about 2 feet across, and the smallest was only about a foot. Jack had the urge to grab the biggest bell and started ringing it. He resisted. He kept low to the floor under the bells in the center, partly to keep from being seen from anyone who might glance up, but mostly to keep from feeling like he was going to plunge to his death. The view was dazing, spectacular, a total panorama. Westward towards the town center, he could see the green copper roof of the public library, and farther on, a gold eagle on the town hall weatherway up above the treetops. Turning in a slow circle, Jack picked out all the places he knew. It was like looking into a picture book of his life. The park near his house, the one with the tall swing set, his elementary school, the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, Grandpa Parkman's house, Capital Bank, where he had a savings account, almost $300. Half a mile to the south, he could see the metal framing and some brick walls of the new junior high. And off to the west, he saw the red roof of the gymnasium at the new high school, just that caught the afternoon sunset. All was there, his past, his present, his future. And that made Jack feel good, until he saw Grandpa's house again. Then he thought, Mom has lived there her whole life, and so has Dad. It's his town, too. He grew up here. What if I'm going to grow up just like him? Out loud, Jack said, but I am not like him. The fierceness in his own voice startled him, and another cloud of pigeons took off from the roof of the tower. Grabbing a pen, he flipped his notebook open to a blank page and wrote at the top, Ways I am not like my dad. I like to keep my room messy. I am not going to live in Huntington when I grow up. I do not like to clean things. I read more books. I am going to college. I am great at using computers. I like loud music. The list filled almost all of the page, and towards the end, Jack even wrote, I hate tomatoes. Scanning the list made Jack feel better, and when he glanced down at the town, Huntington looked good again, safer. Jack closed his binder, then got out his math book, a spiral notebook, and a pencil. He zipped his jacket and pulled it over his hood. He leaned against one of the bell supports and angled himself to catch the best light. He found a quiet place, and now he was doing his homework, just like he said in the note to his dad. Math went fast. It was always easy for Jack. Then he opened the Indian in the cupboard. He had read it before, but that didn't matter. He always liked to read the books he had liked again and again. He was supposed to stop after chapter 4, but the action kept sweeping him along. He knew exactly how Mary felt, and Little Bear too. Looking up some time later, Jack saw that it was getting dark. He shivered, and his back ached from leaning against the steel post. He hadn't noticed what he was reading. Leaning forward near the pillar at the front of the tower, Jack could read the time and temperature sign at the bank on Main Street. 5:53. Only 7 minutes to get back to the shop to meet in time with his dad. Jack said he'd be there at 5, and he would be. He hadn't been late for anything in years. Not school, not a rehearsal, not a single assignment. It was downhill all the way to the shop, and that made Jack get there with a minute to spare. And that is chapter 13. So I want you guys to think. What do you think's gonna happen when Jack gets to the shop with his dad? He's never been at the shop with his dad before, so I wonder what's gonna happen next. So be sure to turn to the next video of chapter 14 of The Janitor's Boy. Have a good day, reader!